Welcome to the McSherryStudio. Don't forget to click the like button and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. And that way you'll get notifications of new painting videos as I post them up. And you can do both using the buttons below here. So otherwise, paint oils, paint small, and paint often. Right, so what we're going to paint is this. Palette we're going to use is the usual one. That white spot there is a reflection of the bulb above it, but that's ivory black there. Burnt umber, cobalt blue, permanent rose, cadmium yellow pale hue, and titanium white. Okay, on my new piece of plate glass that I got cut this morning. Right, we're going to use terps, okay, and we've got a bit of oil in there to help loosen the paint. Right, okay, let us start painting. What you do usually, of course, is make a wash. Right. We do that by getting a bit of burnt umber, making it the consistency of milk. I'm going to use this one. Bring the tone of that canvas down. As usual, you know, there's a procedure, and that's what you lock onto, I think, at the beginning. It's just the procedure, and then when you've got the procedure down, so that you don't have to think about it, you know, where you lay your colours out on the palette, which colours you lay out on the palette, what to do for a wash, how to draw. Then you don't have to think about things so much, and you know, in order to get confused. And it means you can concentrate on the painting itself. Okay, tamp it down because we don't want it to be too slick and wet when we paint. Okay, so now it's down to the tonal value of our palette. All right, so that means we can judge our colours better. We can get the opportunity for happy accidents. We've broken in the canvas. I'll do the drawing with some burnt umber. Okay. And measuring is a good one as well. Measuring this is a great way to teach measuring, doing it with a camera like that. So I can bring that out, see, because from my position where I'm actually sitting, this is all wrong, but I'm looking at the camera screen just so that I can show you how to measure. So my arm is outstretched, my elbow is locked, my shoulder is more or less locked. I'm not going to be moving out this position while I'm measuring. And then I bring my finger down to find out where that lowest point of that composition is. We're talking about the flowers, the pot, and the flower just so it's resting on the base. Okay, so it's something like that. You can see my index finger is just touching the lowest part of the lowest flower there, and the tip is at the same par as the highest rose petal. Okay, and then we turn it around. We check left to right. That looks like 2/3 to me. 2/3 looks something like that. Yeah, let's say 2/3. It's 2/3 as wide as it's high. You know, all that can just run off the side of the composition. Okay, so let's give ourselves a box. 2/3. We're governed by the width, aren't we? Because this is kind of long. This is 7 inches by 10 inches here. So let's say we don't want it to come out any further than that. Okay, so we've got that plus another, what's it, another half of that. That would make it 2/3. There's something like that. Okay. I'd say something like that. That would be top to bottom. Okay. I just put myself a little mark down at the bottom there. Move that there. And the top should come to something like that. So if we just sight our box there like that. And this is the same for anything really. It's the same if you're going out and in the field, you know, painting something. This is still the same kind of thing that you would do. I mean, you could also sort of divide up your canvas into a grid. But we don't need to do that for this because we're just plonking the thing right in the middle. It's a study, and it doesn't need to be sort of set to the side or balanced out in the in some other way on the canvas. So there we've got our the limits of our painting. Okay, so now we need to know what. Let's give ourselves a middle line. Then we can find out what goes up to it. That's what I usually do. Put that down a wee bit. There. So now I've got a kind of center line. So what is in the center here? Let's have a look. So if I imagine that the center is somewhere like halfway up that handle on the right hand side. No, that's not it. So is it at the top of the handle? Hang on, let me just do that a bit more clearly. Top of the handle. It's more like the top of the handle is in the center. And that's kind of it's kind of a bit counterintuitive, really, because you think, I thought the jug was going to be up here somewhere, but it isn't. You know, you've got to put the thing where it actually is, even though it's small. It just won't look small when we're finished painting it. Okay, so we know that the handle kind of comes off here. What's in the middle, left to right then? Is it that sort of part there? Is it that kind of the edge of that blue gap? Let's have a look. No. Let's see if it's the edge of that sort of little light part there. That's more like it. It's the edge of that kind of highlighty part there. And that's just to the right of it there, the reflection of the... Okay. Okay, so we know that the edge of that there. So where's the rest of it then? So the spout actually comes out quite near the edge. Let's say it's something like that. The handle doesn't come out near the edge. The handle's more like that. Which means maybe we can get a bit of a steer on the rest of the jug there. So the actual jug is off to the left. Now, I'm going to do a Van Gogh on that. I don't like the fact that that's coming off to the left too much. I'm going to move it because I'm God in this circumstance. I want to make the thing slightly more centered, and everything else will fall accordingly because it's my painting. You know, I'm bending reality to my will in this circumstance, which is kind of a good attitude to have for later on when you're painting your own paintings, maybe out of your own head, you know, that kind of way. You need to have sort of a bit of a history of changing things to suit yourself. Okay, so it's still actually off. The main body is still off center, but the whole thing looks more balanced. And then we know that the top comes to here, and that's lower, and that comes off the side there, and then that one comes to the edge of the box. Bit of a, what you call it, a negative space there to take care of. See that shape there? There's a big leaf coming off here. I keep looking at the screen and not at my bloody subject. It's quite sort of disorienting, really. Okay, so let's. I'm going to put in. I've got a bit of a. Oh, here I better do the drawing on that down here as well. So that's leaves, but we're not doing a painting of leaves, so we're going to just make that indistinct. Okay, spout. Horizon. Horizon comes above that bloom there. Okay. Sorry. That comes up there like that. Another bloom there. That bloom like that. Green. All right, let's do a little bit of a no-tan. I like no-tans. It's kind of like, it's my version of a no-tan. It's, I think no-tans can be sort of adjusted to the circumstances. So instead of just a pure dark tone, light tone no-tan, I'm just going to turn it into a slight underpainting type thing. So it's going to put that little reflection in. Ooh, there's that reflection there. Shouldn't miss that. You see that red there? That's me. It's all about me, isn't it? There. Green coming off there. I'm just establishing how this painting will work, will look and will work later on. Now, is it set in the right place? Something I didn't notice at all was the lid. Didn't notice that at all. There it is. That's the lid. Okay. Oh, and the handle. I better do something about that handle. If I'm the god of this painting, then that's the Messiah's handle. Right. So so we've got. I think that's going to do. I'm just going to. Something like that. I think that's how our painting is going to be. I'm going to move that out slightly more for balance. Those are our roses. Move that one up a wee bit, make more of it. Stuff, leaves coming out. Right, so let's start with, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start with the greens. All right, I'm going to make a green for those, those leaves. Blue, yellow, get more. And red. Put the red in to make it more natural blue, green. Bit of oil. Yeah, something like that, a bit more red. and it is quite dark. I might just put in a little bit of black there. Funny thing is, right, with this palette, just to show you, this is by way of interest, if you don't have any blue and you need to make a green, watch this. There's yellow, and there's ivory black. Yellow, ivory black. That green is just, was almost as bright as that one. It's strange, isn't it? And Zorn used to use black as a blue. Only ivory black though. No, none of the other blacks. They're too dense. The other blacks, you know, like lamp black and Mars black. Okay, so we've got the green there. Right, so I'm going to put this in here to establish where the greens are. It's quite thin actually because it's got a lot of oil in it, but this is a block. I'm just putting in a block of these greens because it kind of, it's like a bit, it's like having the skeleton of the painting here and down here. Any more? Yeah, that's kind of one there, one there, one there. Go across there like that. Right. I'm going to put in some darks around that silver. Okay, because it's quite dark in places. So I'm just going to get, I think I'm just going to simplify things, get some ivory, burnt umber and blue and a bit of oil because we're still only blocking in at this stage. Okay, where have we got the darks? It's kind of dark up there. These are quite, you know, whenever you're painting silver, you kind of have to make everything quite dark. Dark in there. We can paint into that later. Dark up there. Right. Kind of established that there now. Do you know what I might do? Well, the brush is still not too bloody soaked with crap. Gunge. Murky paint. I'll make up that that rose colour. Oh, something we didn't do. We didn't establish the brightest bright and the darkest dark, which is absolutely vital at the beginning of a painting. So, aren't these flowers bright? They're lovely and bright, and we want them to be bright, but they're nowhere near as bright as that point there, which is the highlight, and there's another highlight there, and there's another couple of highlights around here, and there's one on the edge of that spout. They are the high points of this painting, and the low points are in there and there. And I think there's a couple of places around the leaves. There's certainly one there. And that's quite dark there. So those are our high and low points. So in fact our blooms, our lovely sunny yellow blooms, can't be as bright as we thought. So anyway, I'm going to get some yellow. See, I've made my lovely yellow. And just to show you, I just put a little bit of white on top of it, just to see, because our highlights, we're going to try and make that bright. So the blooms can't be that bright, but that's a red and yellow mix. So I'm going to take that out. I'm just going to scrape that out because I don't want it to affect my yellow. I don't want to make it pale. It's got to be bright. Take the white out there. I'm going to make a shadow version of it because there are shadowed parts of those flowers. And I think I'm going to do that with a little bit of ivory black and a bit more red. Maybe something like that, just to give myself the blooms in shadow. I'll give myself a bit more paint. A bit of red, a bit of black. Okay. Just kind of something like that. Maybe a little bit darker because a bit grey out there. I'm just looking at my... You do these kind of things incrementally because you don't want to just suddenly splodge in a whole load of paint and then you'll have to start again. Too much of the black in it or something like that. Right, here we go. So you can see where the kind of shadowed areas are there. Look at that. Look, I didn't do a bad job. In there, in there, in there. Okay, let's do that. That's there like that. Bit there. These are the parts of the blooms that are in shadow that I'm putting in at the moment. So they're turning away from the light, or they're blocking the light somehow. And there. All right, so we've done the shadowed parts. This is still only blocking. All of this is going to be modelled and corrected later. Okay, and now the bright parts. I can only just, yeah, there we go. Oh, I forgot that one down there, didn't I? Oh dear. Smacky wristies. Okay, and then there's, I suppose I better do that one down there. I'll use my other brush and see if I can put that in down there. Okay. Put that. Okay, so I've got those brighter parts in now. And now there's even more orangey parts. There are orangey parts sort of here. It's probably not great on the screen to look at. And here. And they're warm. They're hitting the warm light. Just noticed something in here that should be in there. So they're warm because I think that they're facing the warm light most of all. The other brighter parts are kind of, they're not facing that bulb so much, but they are facing the window. Right, so I need a warmer part, so more red into the same mix. Okay, and I'm just going to do that here now, in there and there. I'm not sure if you can actually make that out in the, maybe just a little bit there. All right, so we've got that now. Oh, one thing I'm missing. One thing I'm missing. The reflection. There. And the lit part above it. There. There's a reflection in our jug, our coffee pot. Right, so let's put in our foreground. Now, our foreground is a light, warm blue. It's heading towards green. So I'm going to take some cobalt blue and white. Bit of oil, loosen it up a little bit, a touch of yellow, a bit more white. A bit more yellow. Okay, and then there's a shadowed area, so I'm going to take a little bit of black, mix it into the colour that we've already made up. Once again, I'll just reiterate this, you don't make a separate shadow. Well, you make a separate shadow, but you make it from the paint that you mixed for the one colour, which is logical, because the shadow is a shadow of a colour. It's a colour in shadow, so you use the colour to make the shadow. You don't do a separate mix. Or I'll just come round and take your paints off you. Paint police. Right. So there we've got a shadow version of it now. So let's go back to the painting. All right. So you can see the shadow part, which you're going to put in first. Around here, it's in here. It's kind of like around there as well. Shadows cast by the leaves. You don't really see it anywhere else too much, apart from along here, which is the turn of the cloth as it drops away from the light over the cliff of despond, away from the sunshine. There, so now we've got a despondent cliff, and we're going to. I'm starting to ramble, aren't I? Nurse! And let's fill in this area here, because another interesting thing is coming up. And you can see the difference between this blue, push that over there a wee bit, and the one that's rising above it. This is a greenish light blue, and the one above it is a reddish blue. That's a kind of an important distinction, and it shows you why I use this palette. Okay, so that's kind of blocked in there. Even now, here's a nice case in point, that even without painting it, because of that wash that we've put on, and there's no paint along here, it kind of looks more interesting already. If that was white, it would look terrible. It would just look stark and horrible. But because there's a colour in there, it's dampened down away from the light. It kind of looks like something. Now, I'm not sure I'll keep it, but it is a case in point about why you should use a wash. And that could be any colour. That could be pink or or an ochre colour or anything like that. As long as it's not black or white, Or there's no black or white, or especially white in it, because that will just kill it, make it pale. But anyway, so there you go. Let's do the background then. So since we're on blues, let's grab some blue. Need quite a lot for this. Let's grab some white, because it's still got white in it. It's still paler than normal. A bit more blue. And it has red into it, because it's a blue that's heading towards red. Put a bit of oil in it so we can move it around. It's something along those lines. Maybe even a little bit of yellow, because there is a yellow light going onto it. Or maybe I'll just keep it purer. I'll keep it purer. Might do something for the painting. All right, so let's loosen it up a bit there. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I was getting absorbed in I was getting soothed by my own voice. I'd have been asleep soon. Yeah, there you go. Put that over there, and in here, let's shape that a little bit. We're still only blocking, so we've still got the opportunity of changing things later. Around here, put that in there. Okay. I might make more of that bloom, actually bring it up there, so I'm not going to do. You're always checking your work and making sure that you're not going too far awry. I mean, there's inevitably you'll be getting things wrong, so don't worry about that. It's just know that you can correct it if you don't sort of take it too far. And down here we need that in there. Let's bring that in. All right, so we've got that done now. Let's have a look. Can I see that being reflected anywhere else? Yes, I can. I can see that here in the jug. All right. Now, going back to my smaller brush, can I see the other one being reflected? Yes, I can. It's all around here. Now it's slightly yellower, slightly lighter, but it needs to go in. It darkens somewhat as it goes off to the right, so it just kind of darkens to the, not too much. There. Is it anywhere else? I can see a kind of a line which is greenish going up there. I'm not sure what it is. What's it reflecting? Just there. Slightly greenish, so I'm going to put more yellow into that. It's slightly greyish as well. I'm going to put that there. Okay. All right, I'm going to do me, my red t-shirt. That's just a mixture of permanent rose, blue to make it a bit more purpley. Okay, I can even see my arm. Can you see my arm moving around there? Yeah. Wonder will that go in? We'll see. It's kind of there and it isn't there. Comes down by the side of the rose there. I'll put in that kind of fleshy colour. So let's make a flesh colour for you. White. Make it over here. White, yellow, red, and blue. Touch of blue. A bit more yellow. A bit more red. That's kind of a fleshy tone. Is it dark enough? Let's have a look. Let's put it in. There's my arm. And there's something else that's kind of, oh, it's the side of the easel where I'm painting is causing a reflection as well. And that's on that side of that blue part there. It goes all the way up. That blue, that sort of foreground blue, is there on the handle, and it becomes sort of slightly yellower at the side of the handle here. Now what's going on at the top here? That's a grey. There's a dark green actually across here, running down there, running into that handle a bit. Yes, running down that handle there, and running around there like that. Side of the spout, and then across here, that's reflecting the window. That's reflecting the windows off to the left. But it looks a bit like the background. It looks a bit like this colour here, but lighter. We'll put that in there like, I'll put a bit more white into it. There. And then across the top it's slightly greenish again. A greenish grey. There. There's a dark running down here. I need to put that in. So I'll take a bit of burnt umber and blue, put together, and put that down there like that. All the way down. And then down there as well. That's dark. There. Dark there. Very dark there. Yes, we've got a reflection also here of the ground in which it's sitting on here. There's a very light light. That's the same reflection of the window, I think, going up there. I think I could just make those darker again off to the right. Darker and bluer coming down here. Now what's going on with that's the lid there, and that's reflecting a kind of a pinky grey, which is basically the ceiling. Let's make it pinky grey. Right, so white plus red plus blue plus yellow. Mix them together, we start to get a grey. No black. You don't necessarily need black. A bit yellow, a bit more red. It's kind of something like that. Alright, so we've got our lid now. Can we use that pinky grey anywhere else just for effect? I think we could. We could use that there. There are greys elsewhere in that pot. We can economize and put that grey into there, across there, in there. Right. Let's do something with the greens. They're darker, I think, than I have them at the moment. So I go to make more green. And I'm going to make a really darker in one or two places. Okay, so here. where I see the darks, I'm putting them in. Under that lid. And then it going to sort of state some of these greens that are around here. You can sort of be too sort of descriptive with leaves, and then just get a painting of leaves, and we don't really want that. Keep them brushy. And there's some light, much lighter ones, up here, for example, quite possibly reflecting that that bloom that's around it there. And what about down here? There's you just put in sort of dabs and flicks of paint. There's a pale, warm part to the certain of the leaves over here. Okay. Dark here. Reflection of the foreground there. Okay, let's work on the roses again. So there's a very pale part, sort of just in that one there, and in that one there. So pale means I'm going to have to use white in some of those hues, but they still have to be sort of tonally darker than the highlights. So let's put some of those in. Roses are kind of structural. They have a kind of there's a design to them, isn't there? And you kind of get across the fact that they're almost architectural in the way they develop. There's about there like that. Let's put in I need to put in a darker kind of a shadowed part again, but shadowed more almost more like just grey rather than a dark yellow. So I just mixed a bit of black into white and a little bit of yellow. Put that in there. I can see it maybe making more definite. No, that would be redder there. You really start to observe when you're painting these things. They're so delicate, that so subtle, the differences in the hues. Okay. All right, I'm going to sculpt this a little bit more with the background. background coming in. I'm going to extend that up there, that rose, I think. It needs it. And likewise there. Complete that. Sculpt that a little bit. So obviously we've moved away from the blocking in stage and we're going into details. There's quite a lot that could be done with this this background. Make something more of it. I've got a gap there, haven't I? Put that in there with the other tone. Dark. Right, let's push up those rose petals a bit. Push that up into there. That's a pale one. Yeah. Okay. Might have to change brushes soon, actually, because I'm starting to sort of my brush is being a bit too sort of thick for the task that I'm setting it. Sculpt there. Okay. I'm going to do something with that foreground because the foreground becomes lighter and warmer as it goes left. You can't really see it. I think that the camera's probably not sensitive enough to pick up that subtlety. It becomes slightly pinker as it goes off to the left. Okay, I'm going to put that there. Adjust that ellipse there. And I want to do something, to start doing something with that background a bit. I think, not sure, what will I do? Put a bit of red into it. I want to make it kind of, I'm still in with that greenish blue. It's supposed to be a reddy blue and I put plenty of red in it. Let's have a look. See, I'm still not smoothing things down. Quite a lot of paint there. It'd be nice if you could see how much paint there is going down. You need to be able to push your paint around a bit after the fact, if you see what I mean. That's, don't be sort of miserly with the paint, I think. Push that in there, and that comes around there like that. That comes in. Sculpt. We're cutting away bits as we paint. That's a leaf, so that's not really terribly important to get right. Somebody just sort of entered the room. Let's have a look. No. Okay. Okay, so we've got a lot of all right. Did more of that there. That's good. All right, so let's let's move back to the pot. We can start sort of making a few sort of more minor adjustments to. I'm using this brush now. Okay, that's a number 5 round in the create range. So there's a brighter thing here. I think that could have. And along here. We're still not at the highlight level yet. There's something coming running down there. Around here there's a lighter thing. What would it be? It's kind of warm. It's a warm sort of yellow grey. Put that in there. Oh, it's a pink one. I think we'll do that one first. It's a warm pink grey here. I wonder what that's reflecting. Along here there's a gold colour. Coming along the edge of that. You can see that there. There's a dark blue. Yeah. There's another kind of a goldy grey up here as this turns away from the, or it turns towards the ceiling, I suppose. Dark blue defining that edge there. Maybe in there too. Slightly mid blue there. Lots and 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 lots of reflections. And you've got to get across the idea that this is so reflective, it's reflecting absolutely everything. All right, there's some sort of not quite spectacular highlights on the right hand side. Strange description, but anyway, look, they're along here. What they are, those things there, are reflecting the ones, the really bright ones that are there on the handle. Okay, that's bothering me, that bloody line there. I'm going to fix that up a little bit. So, and there is something that we can learn from as well, because this, we can lose that there, that whole part there, we lose that, and if we lose it, it actually looks better. It looks more like a reflective object if we lose the edge, because you know we're asking our viewers to believe that it's reflecting, that it's silver, and so we're helping them along by saying, yeah, this is really silver. This is it's so reflective that you can't see it anymore. Bit of a shadow in there. Okay, I've come up there too far. Okay, what have we got? There's a dark There's a dark golden colour. Let me see how I can get that. Dark golden, very warm colour underneath that handle. I need to get there brighter. A bit more yellow into it. There. Maybe that just comes down there as well. It'd be worth having it. A dark blue-grey here. Okay, there's a reflection of that foreground underneath there. There's a reflection of that foreground all the way down there. I'm just using this opportunity to actually straighten out that handle, which is needs to be straightened. There, down there like that. And then we can sculpt that further as we go down. There's that lovely limeish green reflection that continues down further. So I'm using my little finger as a mile stick here. There, like that. Okay, now let's actually do what I said I'd do, which is straighten that handle a bit. Straighten that, we're sculpting again. Okay. Let us pray. Now hang on, let us put the more green in. Here. It's going to go there. There's a nice dark in there that I've got to put in. Got to put that in. And that's forming that leaf there. And under there. Maybe a little bit in there. Let's put in the stalk. Well, put in the stalk of the rose here. Actually, I'll just lighten that with a bit of white because it's paler than I have it. Okay. Oh, there's some pale rose leaves there and there. There's a pale warm one up here. There, like that. Let's put in a bit of definition on some of those leaves just to get them out of the way. Stalk coming down there like that. We're not going to make too much of it. There's quite a bright one, bright light grey, come down there like that. As I say, we're not going to make too much of it. There's a pink highlight type light on that lid. In fact, it's pinker than I have it all over here. So let's correct that. Okay, and then there's the highlighty part that I was telling you about, which is here. This time I'm using my elbow as a mile stick. Move that down a wee bit there. Okay. In that case, I need to push that further over there like that. Let me see, there's some lights here on the spout. Coming up around there. There's a golden one. Not a highlight, but just a mid-tone in there. Let's get that short here. Yeah. There, like that. There's a bit more red there. I don't know what that's reflecting, but it's in there, so I'm putting it in. It's also reflecting me just a little bit in there. Just see that. And I can sort of feel that it's in there as well. Let's put in more of that golden sort of tone here. Hue, I should say. Hue. Let's do more on the flowers. More on the flowers. I'm going to put in some more sort of subtleties in the roses. There. Yeah, that's something like that. Be sure that those things look like kind of those leaves that the roses come out of. I'm no Monty Don, am I? But then who is? Right? Just forming that that leaf and that petal at the same time. A bit more of that intense sort of orangey red in here and in here. Is it down here? Not really. That's a grayer one. It's one of those grey reflections. I'm bouncing around all over the place, but that is what you would expect in an alla prima oil painting. And that's redder. God almighty, there's a lot of lot going on. There's a lot going on in these roses. That's redder again as well. All right, well, let's go back to our jug again. Hang on, sorry. Needs to be in there as well. Okay, jug. Okay, there's a reddish sort of warm, not reddish. I suppose it is down here. Just going to shape that down here, bring that around. Right, I'm just going to sort of do some Now this is not blending, this is breaking up edges. Just bringing them in, just sort of subtly breaking up really hard sort of edges, but not overdoing and turning it into a flat painting. Working with the edges, just you can move the paint in and out around the edges using the very tip of the brush. And also it just brings in so I've just been using going into the blue greys over here and just going into the red. It leaves a little bit of the blue grey in there, and that helps too. So after all, this is reflecting lots and lots of things around it. So we're just giving the illusion that that this is reflecting what we're telling the viewer that it's reflecting. There are painters who sort of do absolutely faithful renditions of things, but it seems a little bit pointless, really. You can sort of tell the same story much more simply. Okay, that's the lid. Okay, so now we've got sort of a slight, just dampened down part. We can start putting in more subtleties. There's a nice light sort of coming down here, which is a more pink thing than the blue that's next to it. Let's do something with the blue here. Sorry, I'm just mixing up a little bit more of that blue. Didn't make myself enough in the first place. I'll get my wrist slapped again. Into here. It kind of lightens as it comes in around there. I'm just going to put little dabs in. Down there like that. And now I'm going to do the highlights. Just for the, it's not actually finished, but just for the pleasure of putting in the highlights, because it helps. It's like a reward for getting this far. So I'm going to make the highlights from the window first. So they're kind of slightly bluish. They're cool, okay, but they're very bright, but they're cool. So I'm using white and blue and a little bit of red. It's got a slightly violet kind of colour, and that will express what we want it to say, that these highlights are cool, daylight kind of ones. Okay, so very bright, lots and lots of white, tiny bit of blue, and an even tinier bit of red. Okay, okay, and those can be seen. There's one here. This is where this is kind of like a payoff, I think. There. There's one along the handle here. There. Kind of like a little constellation of them there. There's as I move around, I could just see these bits sort of in there. Have we done enough of those? Oh yes, there's another one, because this is metal here as well. There's one there, and one in the middle of that little light. There. Oh God, I'm starting to see loads of them now. There's one there. Right, so we've got our cool highlights, and now we're going to do our warm highlights. And the warm highlights are white. So these are golden colour, so white, yellow, and these come from the warm light, which is above the composition. Slightly too pinky, more white, touch more yellow. Okay, and let's go back. So there it is. Let's go back and put in our warm highlights. And now there's a really bright warm one. God almighty, I need to load up the brush a bit more. Just here, where that cool highlight is, there's also a warm highlight. Putting that in there. It's very subtle. One there. One there. Yeah, and there's a reflection of strip lights just here, and they're actually they actually look warm. Usually they look kind of greenish and cold, but must be the position that I'm in as well. So I'm going to put those in. Or I'm going to put one of them in anyway. It doesn't need two. There. Okay, so now we've got our highlights in. We're rewarded for all our patience and hard work. A few more subtleties along there. Frizz that around a little bit. I'm starting to make words up now. So a bit in there. I do need to actually shape that thing a little bit more in here because that actually comes around. Right there. And that actually goes up a wee bit. I'm going to push that up. Sculpting. Whittling. We're whittling. We're better off with a Swiss Army knife. Whittle that into position. Let's do the same thing with there that we usually do. So that obviously must be reflecting some of this down here, the rose petal. Let's get some more yellow and do just a little bit more work on those roses. A bit of brightness in there. Little spots of light telling the viewer that you know you've observed. Okay. There's something else I wanted to do that I'm not. Experiment. I'm going to break this up because I don't want it to be a hard line across that. I'm fed up with hard lines. So I'm going to do this. Push that in there. That also enhances the fact that it's supposed to be a reflective object when you just bring in part of it, part of the background into it. Little dabs just to bring everything sort of together. There's a couple of things I just want to put in before I finish. It's the something to do with these leaves here. That could have been darker there, so I'm putting that in. Just give myself a bit of a very kind of dark green there. And we'll shape that in a moment. That was absolutely unpainted there. There was nothing in there. we're balancing out the rest of the painting now. Pushing stuff out a little bit just so that we can achieve a little bit of weight, you know, pushing the weight around, the weight of the painting. The weight's a bit sort of too far over that way at the moment. We're getting a bit of weight on this side. And that's really almost at the point where you're not looking at the subject anymore. You're just dealing with the things you have to deal with to make the painting right, in your eyes. I could do something up there, couldn't I? There's something that's a little bit amiss up there. Up here, just to get the... And I did see some blue. Oh yeah, just a little bit of blue. That wouldn't do any harm to have that there. Soften all that. I think that's as far as we need to go. There's a bit of a dark, I'm missing just here. Before I just come and wake you all up. And okay. Hello, everyone. Let me hold this up towards you.
Ah.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of that.
Ah, yes.
It's lovely.
Oh,
Oh, it's gorgeous.
that jug jumps at you. It's lovely.
Yeah.
You can see the reflections properly now.
Yeah.
Oh, you can now. Look at that.
Yeah.
And also the actual amount of paint. There we go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Lovely.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
yes. Yeah.
You can see it now.
Yeah.
It's more definite now.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a little bit less
Hey,
definite.
yeah. Oh, that
Yeah.
wasn't lovely.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. That's
That's
the
lovely.
the thing did
Well
fall
done,
down.
Kevin.
The thing did fall down. It's behind me now. Right now.